Hi. This is the second part of the title starting with the sentence, "What is Satori?" And I hesitated to do this, but it came to the point. And I'm not prepared what I'm going to say, but I have few ideas that I want to share. So previous to this one, this part one was relating to this book I carried for 40 years or so, Shimura's book about Daisetz Suzuki. And Daisetz Suzuki is famous almost like a person who brought Zen into the West. And he passed away when I was 18 or so it's like 60 years ago. And at the age of 96 or so, at the time I have no idea who he was. So by coincidence, as I was graduating from Stanford, I went to this Printers Inc. is the name of the bookstore. And after getting this MBA, which is quite opposite probably from this Zen, I found his book, Zen and Japanese Culture. I still remember vividly. And that kind of changed my life. Prior to that, in the business school, someone asked me, "What is Zen?" And I couldn't answer it. As Japanese, I can say something, but I have no idea, so I hesitated, and I couldn't answer. Right now, at age 76, I don't know how to answer it, but I'm going to give it a try, because my time is running out, and I better share some view, at least, to those who may be interested. So the background is that I have engineering background in business and then get into Zen, but I worked as a consulting business and even private equity. But my main concern always has been about organization and how people can be involved and connect to each other instead of being used like a machine. So that the idea of the mini company, mini-me idea, which is to self-manage life, has been the main issue, and that's the reason why I moved from Japan to the US. So at the time, that was the intuition, and the Zen get into my picture, and I wrote a book about this mini company and waste elimination, appreciating the human potential, and the Zen actually fit well with that. But this Zen side of the story took so many years to figure out. From the age of about 30, from that book, Zen and Japanese Culture, I started to read and then met this book from Shimura, and I got excited and then decided to read one book, two books, and I finally got the 35 volumes of the Zenshu, they call it, the collection of Daisetz book, which is like a total of 100 books or so into that. So each book have maybe 3 books of the Zen-related talk and writing he did. In English, they've got about 30 books available. In Japanese, maybe 100. And I read most of it, and I still didn't get it. So there's a moment, I went to Zen Center in Los Angeles, meeting people here and there, visiting this temple, that temple, meeting Mr. Nara, who is very famous in Japan about the Buddhism and the Soto Zen with the Dogen, and referred to the Zen Center, Los Angeles, Maizumi Roshi, and others, sitting. But at the age 52, I had this moment of a vipassana. And I really liked the idea, and I read the book and decided to join for 10 days. And without knowing what's to happen, on the 8th day, I had this, what I call banga, or awakening experience. But that's not the end of it. And I was totally amazed. And then it get me into it. What was the experience, and how do I tie things together? And that's so about 30 some years ago, I had that experience. And I kept on reading and rereading and meditating and going to Vipassana every year and so on and so forth for, I don't know, 15 years or perhaps more. And then what happened? Yeah, right. There was a divorce, and I'm not going to go into it, but I wanted to put my focus in line to how I live. And that's what happened. So where I stand now is that I have been posting those YouTube videos relating to my experience, ideas here and there. I also have this report of the Vipassana, so I share those on the website. If there's anybody interested, you can find it. But that experience itself doesn't solve anything. It's everything, or maybe some of the stuff. That's my view. So I kept on moving forward. So where I stand now is here. The experience is one, but the practice in daily life is everything. And I have had some cases of difficulties, suffering, and so forth. And that pointed me that I'm not still dealing with the situation as I should or could. I'm stopping here because one incident I remember was when I was in New Zealand. I think that was before that awakening. That's right. That I had the occasion of losing a big chunk of money in investment. And I was, yeah, that's right. It depressed. And when I was in the beautiful, forest and the stream, and then that event put me into the very difficult state. That may have caused the reason for me to overcome, because that residual sense of the something you cannot get out of your system was another impetus for me to really commit myself into Zen. So by that time, I had many times of the reading this book and some scars on my body in suffering. And that event happened. And from that time on, I devoted more time to restudy, study deeper, but not just studying, but acting in terms of meditation and so on and so forth. So I have some view of what is this Satori or Zen practice is like. So that's what I want to talk about. But since this is about Satori, the main event of the awakening or enlightenment, but the meaning of Satori should be understood that it's not just one event, but you are rooted to the core of my being, your being, so that you have a way to avoid the danger, process the problem, not get into the despair or anything, and handle it. So since that awakening experience, now it's the 22 years later, 24 years later or so, and here's what I can say. I lost my condo in the Palisades fire. I think that's a fairly interesting example. So that was about 6 days ago. My tenant sent me the pictures and videos with the fire, and the condo is gone. And before that, I knew what could happen. I thought the wind may go this way, so it should be okay, but it turned out it wasn't. So, but I was somewhat prepared. Okay, it may be gone. But I could, as I posted in the video, this is like 7 days ago I posted, that I was walking down the street to go swimming or something. And at that time, there was no indication that it can go that wind may go that way. But I was preparing for that, and then I noticed that I could watch my breathing, that it changes as I think back. But that change is subtle, but I'm quick enough so that I can kind of like and then observe what's going on and accept everything. It may be easy to say this way, but by being in the state of samadhi, which is calm and quiet mind, no thinking, no self, I could relate to, okay. So it's quite different if you want to see the difference of losing lots of money, but this is also bigger money to be lost. And actually it happened. But I was prepared, and I was amazed that, and I explained that in the video 7 days ago or so, 1 or 2 videos. So this is like 7 days after. And last night, in the middle of the night, I was up and I was reflecting on that fire, and the condo's gone, and all the town of Palisades gone. Actually, I have another property with my ex-wife. I have some portion of it that may be still standing, but nobody knows at this moment how things are. Anyway, last night I was up, and in that time period from that 7 days ago to last night, there was nothing much that is causing me to be in despair or something. So last night was like I woke up and I haven't felt any, not mentioned despair, but rather disturbance. And I was totally amazed, and I thought there must be something wrong. Why I'm out of tune? But I was in tune to what I should be, which is calm and quiet mind, and observe everything, living in the now, and process everything. I call it the nature's way. Observing inside samadhi, no thinking. But I was thinking back and forth, just like the case of walking on the street and in and out, samadhi in, samadhi out. So when you are in samadhi, basically this happens when you develop some skill or accustomed to the meditation, like the vipassana, or focusing on breathing and inner body sensation. Then that give you a sense that that's the fundamental level of who you are. Because if you think in a logical manner, all added in the brain is after our birth by listening to parents and friends talking in language of the words and the logic, and that's how we develop this mind or the brain. This is my engineering background to think like that. So that's one level, but beyond that or before that is the level of the body living in the now and doing everything, which is caused by the law of universe or law of nature to bring us to this earth, like a miracle of putting all the dust of the universe to be put together, starting from protein and lettuce and the trees and the monkeys, and now we are born and I'm born. And that is what's background in me. And the extension of that is that as if you ate the fruit of knowledge in the Garden of Eden, before and after. So we start to play in this space, and the way I see it is that this is, in a way, a fake. You're creating the logic and processing it in such a manner that you can make a good decision, which is not bad. But if you use it in an odd way or right way, depends on how you call it, because the social construct is you are not to do this, you have to do this. There are certain conventional wisdom that is stuck with us, that comes with early age and the learning and how, this is attractive woman, this is the place to go, this is the money, and this is the job, and this is how you live. That kind of image may be created. But in reality, if I use the word reality or in truth, it's just here. It's like a computer with the programming and the operating system and the words and the logic and the database and the files, and I call mini-me, talking about the relationship and money and the fame and the health and other stuff, and then you just process back and forth to see how to use your brain to live life, and you keep busy in here. So taking time long to go through this background, which I shared in other videos, but given that situation, I realized that the samadhi is like an interface going this way or back to nature, connect to nature, the core being of who we are. So I call it surfing on the wave of the universe. The mind goes up and down, the wave is there. Down deep below is the calm, quiet ocean. And in samadhi, you are not here because you're not thinking and there's no self. If there's a self, what do you do when you lose money? All that kind of stuff happens. But if there's no self, so no self, no mind, samadhi, and calm and quiet mind, and have the sense of connection to the root. Give me the equanimity, given the up and down, with the connection of the heart or the core of our being. So I've said this, in various ways, but given that last night I was up maybe 30 minutes or so, and I was equanimous. I am equanimous. It's kind of like a magic. If you see me 25 years ago when I lost a chunk of money, this chunk of money is, compared to this, anyway, some big chunk too. So equanimity and acceptance in samadhi. And if you call that as a state of satori, that's one way to say it. But I'm not perfect. I have some annoying things happen yesterday. It gets stuck with me. So the condo is a much bigger deal than this annoying thing. But in principle, I didn't like what happened. So I was kind of caught up in that one. So I'm chuckling myself and then, see, I'm still like this. It may be much better in some sense, but I'm still, if the principle is not there and things are not working, I want to figure out how to do it. And that's perhaps also the reason of me doing this YouTube video. Because one is to digest myself to make sure that I'm equanimous and make sense of all the things happening, which I have to work every day. So I have enough topic to talk about every day in YouTube, because it's like a journal that, but that journal is the way, but I can connect to the root, the talk, and the experience, so that everything is like a, finding the journey and figuring out how to go, because internally I change and externally things change. So that's life. So that's also is called the bodhisattva. Bodhisattva. I forgot the English name. The guy who doesn't just stay in the cave and be happy, awaken, but come back to the world and do something. So I said my mission is help myself, help others, have fun, and practice samadhi or something like that. And as a part of it, I think my life is aligned in that direction, and that's what I do. So what about samadhi? Not the samadhi, satori. I'll come back to talk more from this book about what Shimura says. So the previous was part 1. this part 2 is my story of right now, at this stage of where I stand and how I see the world. And there will be another one going back to this book, but just to carry on this dynamic process of living life so that we don't lose, caught up somewhere and lost, but rather to know how things are happening, clear mind, calm mind, no self, and practice Shira Samadhi Panya or Samadhi, main thing I'm focusing on for the sake of discussion, by having a meditation and all that stuff. So life is continuing process of us being alive to do whatever we can, utilizing the whole resources, including the brain and the heart and everything else. And that's how I see myself doing it. And because of the variation of the stimuli and ups and downs comes into a way, I am like a swordman, adjusting my position and trying to not get into the dangerous space, but maneuver it to make sense for myself, but for the society as a whole, ideally, and work in that direction. So if I do this correctly, also posting on the YouTube and looking at some of the comment and feedback, I can see me in the mirror within myself and with the reflection of others, and also relate to the principles and ideas that I have gained. I can maneuver things, and if I can do that and share the process, it may be of some help for other people. But the point is not me to teach or anything, just give a reference where I am, what I have been, and what works, and what seems like something we can do. And if you can share that, have the space and the setting to learn the process of living, that's why I say, if not surfing, master the surfing, how to be the master of life. We have all the opportunities and problems to go through, internally, externally, and personally, and as a society. But how do we align what we do in relation to our own, with others, and have the future potential to be, we get awakening of individual and human. I think that's the bodhisattva, I now remember. My cognitive power, English and Japanese and all the configurations. So that's what I see, and hope I'm communicating something. Thank you for your paying attention if you listen to this point. Give me a feedback, if any. Thank you.